Bet you can't guess what we're making today. Homemade Dutch apple pie. Stay tuned. Hey everyone, welcome back. For today's recipe, I am going to make a Dutch apple pie. So to start out, we are going to make crust from scratch. So you need 2 cups of flour and 5 to 6 tablespoons of water, a teaspoon of salt, put that in there, and 2/3 of a cup of just regular shortening. So to start out, we're going to mix our salt into our flour just to get it combined. All right. And then we're going to just chunk in little chunks the shortening. A little sticky. So you can use a fork or a pastry blender, which what this is. I got this from Pampered Chef, but they sell them in the store too. And you just start cutting in and squishing the shortening into the flour till it gets kind of crumbly. And from having experience of using a fork versus this thing, this is well worth the money. Just looking for kind of a crumbly texture. All right, then you just slowly start in your water a little at a time. You might not need it all. Getting there. Okay, that feels pretty good. So, dry off that. Here's what your pie dough looks like. I just want it to make a nice firm wet ball. Not too wet, but you want it to be able to stick together good. So, a little bit of flour on it. And we'll try to roll it out. And this will make 2 9-inch pie crusts, but since I have a deep pie plate I'm going to use, I'm just going to make 1. We're going to roll it out to about 1/8 of an inch thick. Try to make it somewhat of a circle. Dutch apple pie is one of my favorite apple pies. Pretty much any kind of Dutch stuff. My grandma Because originally she came here from Amsterdam and married my grandpa, who was also a baker. He was from Friesland, which is right across the river from Holland. And it's a funny thing, you know, Holland's supposed to be known for their tulips and stuff like that, which they are, but actually Holland gets, from what I believe, a lot of their tulip bulbs from Washington State, so that's kind of cool. And I didn't know if you knew this, but back in World War II, my grandma still lived in Amsterdam, and they actually ate tulip bulbs, kind of like we eat potatoes, because food was kind of short, so they just ate what they could, and they peeled and ate tulip bulbs. I don't know what kind, so don't be peeling and eating a tulip bulb, because I don't want anybody getting sick. Okay, so it's not as pretty as store-bought pie crust, but it will be good. So here is my deep pie plate, and we've got to very gently try to lift it up and get it in there. And if it comes apart, you just kind of push it to stick it together. Make it fit. And go. There we go. Just kind of straighten it up a little bit. It's kind of nerve-wracking. Pinch it together, make it stick. Now I'm going to cut off a little bit of the excess, so it's not so big. Turn it up a little. Now I'm going to do that scallop look. I kind of tuck in my edge a little, go around, just kind of roll it up and under. Okay, so once you get all the way around, then you just kind of pinch, and you get that nice scalloped edge. And it also kind of hooks your pie crust to the edge of your pie plate so that when it's baking it won't shrink down inside too far. Okay. All right. There's your pie crust. So our next step is we're going to make apple pie filling, and we're going to want to peel enough apples to make about 6 cups. So I just kind of estimate that 1 apple you'll get about a cup of apples, so here we go. Another thing my grandma always did is we always had a contest. Who could peel your apple without breaking the peel? Of course, she always won. Nope. I lost. Oh, and then you just cut and start making really thin apple slices. And if you like thicker apple, you can leave them thicker. It's up to you. Well, most apple pie recipes call to use Granny Smith apples, which are the tart green ones. I'm using Fuji's because they're a sweeter apple, but since it's a sweeter apple, I cut back the sugar that they call for in the pie recipe. Otherwise, it gets extremely sweet. Now if you want, you can add some, about 1 to 2 teaspoons of lemon juice to keep your apples from turning brown. It's optional. And the rinse. Now I'm going to preheat the oven to 375 and get that ready to go. Okay, so in a separate bowl, you're going to take 3/4 cup of sugar, but since I'm using Fuji, I'm only using 1/2 cup. And 2 tablespoons of flour. And a heaping teaspoon of cinnamon, because I like cinnamon. But you can do half cinnamon and add nutmeg. It's all personal preference, but I prefer cinnamon. So we'll give that a whisk. Grab me a wooden spoon. And you just sprinkle that on top of your apples. And stir it around a little bit. Make sure they're all nice and covered. Flew right out of my hand, didn't it? Smells delicious. How do you prefer your apple pie? I like mine hot, with a scoop of vanilla ice cream. And if you don't have ice cream, Cool Whip works. Okay, so now your apples are nice and covered. We're going to pour them into our pie crust. Try to make a heaping pile. Okay. Keep them kind of towards the middle. That way, when you put your topping on, it won't roll off the sides. Now, set this aside for a minute and make our topping. All right. So to make the Dutch topping, you're going to need a cup of just regular rolled oats. These are quick oats. And I double my recipe, so it would normally be 1/2 cup, but I like more topping on. 1 cup of packed brown sugar. 1/2 cup of flour. And again, this recipe is doubled, so if you don't like as much, just cut it in half. And we're going to take a fork and give it a mix together. And then you want to cut in 1/2 cup or 1 stick of softened butter. Kind of crumbly is what you're going for. Okay, so we got it nice and crumbly. Chunks of butter. Okay, so just want to start pouring it over the top. Make sure you get all the apples covered. Oven's ready. So, if you have a pie ring, you can use a pie ring. Fit right over the top of your pie crust. If you don't have a pie ring, you can just take pieces of aluminum foil, just kind of cover your edge so that they don't burn. So you'll want to bake this in a 375-degree oven, like I said, for 25 minutes. And then after 25 minutes, you take off your ring and you bake it for another 25 to 30 minutes. So we'll see you in about 50 minutes. All right, here it is. It's all done. So we'll let it sit for a few minutes and then we'll cut it open and see how it looks inside. So we're gonna cut it open now. See what it looks like. Alright, I hope you enjoyed this video, and we'll see you next time. Bye! Bag of muffins. You're looking, you ain't cooking. Oh. mango moscato.